So today I'm going to show you how to write to a comma-separated file. I'm going to show you a couple of versions of this, one which is a little bit awkward and the other one which makes life a lot easier for you, but they both work. So I've got a few things set up already for you. I've got the constant for the student records file, I've got my file opening here, I've got my file closing, and I've got some very basic integer and string variables here as well. All of these are initialized to their default values, either empty for the strings or 0 for the integers. So the first example I'm going to show you is how to ask the user for how many records they want to create and then use a loop to go through those. So writing records. So this is asking the user essentially what they want. So very simple. Start off with something you should all know, hopefully, which is how to get an input from the user and convert it to an integer. So now what I'm going to do is create a very simple loop. I'm going to name it record loop, and I am going to simply go around as many records as the user has asked for. Remember that Python starts the range at 0, so if I put in 4 records, it would actually go 0, 1, 2, 3. Not something to worry about too much here, but just to be aware of. Now I'm going to ask the user for their details, so what they want to enter as the data. Age is an integer, so I'm just going to convert that into an integer so it's stored properly. And this is something I like to do. It's not strictly necessary, but I prefer doing it this way because this way you can really make sure that you've built the string properly, and it gives you a lot of flexibility later on. So output string becomes the name. I'm going to add on the comma. I'm going to add on the age. Notice I have to convert that to a string because it's going into a text file. And now I want to put my /n to give me a new line. And then finally, I want to write that whole thing out to the file. So what you'll now see, let's just run it and see what we get. And I'm going to say 3 records, Alice 13, Fred 15, George 17. Let's just see what the file looks like. So here we've got our file. One thing to notice is that because each line has got a new line character at the end of it, there's actually 4 lines here rather than 3. We can deal with that a bit later on. We can sort that out a bit later on. But at the moment, that's what we've got. Now, one thing that would happen is if I ran this again, and I will just want to add 1 record, what you'll see happen is, let's call this one Alison. I'll make her 10. But what you'll now see with Alison is that she's overwritten the other records that I created. So if I want to stop that from happening, I have to change that write to an append. And the append will either create a new file if it doesn't exist, or add on to the file if it exists already. So it depends on what you want to achieve here. It depends on what you want to achieve. I'm just going to show you how the append works. So it's 1 more record in here. Let's put Jeff back. I can't remember his age, but let's say 15. Hopefully, you can now see that Jeff is added on because of that append command. That's one way of doing it. So have a go with that and just see if you can get that working for me. Pause the video before you move on. So the next way of actually managing to write records to a file is to be a bit more flexible and basically ask the user, do they want to create another one? Do they want to create another one? And in order to do that, I'm going to have a very simple string called again. And instead of asking how many records they want, I don't need that anymore. And I'm actually going to take this away because we don't need any of this anymore. We don't want that line either. We're going to have to sort out the tabbing in a minute. But what I'm going to do is a very simple loop. So I'm going to change the comment. So we're going to keep writing records until the user wants to stop. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to ask the user whether they want to add another record. Okay, we're now going to do a very simple while. While again is y. And now we're going to do something pretty similar to what we did before, so we can reuse this code. The thing about reusing code is just to make sure that the tabbing is correct. So I'm just going to make sure that's right. So those two are absolutely fine. That doesn't change, and neither does that. There's one other bit I need to do though, is I want to check whether the user wants another record. And in order to do that, I'm just going to take this line, I'm going to copy it, and I'm very carefully going to paste it in there. And now, if I now run that, and I'm just going to change this to a W so it overwrites it. Let's say yes. Let's make her 14. We'll do another one. I'll make her 8. And then we'll stop. And we're just going to check that that is overwritten properly. And there we go. So that's how you can keep writing records until the user wants to stop using a while loop. So what I'm going to show you now is how to remove that last line in the file, the empty line, because the problem with it is that if you read it into Python, it would think there were 3 lines, whereas there probably should be 2. So it'll always think that there's one more line than there really is there. Now there's a very simple thing we can do here. What we're going to do is we're going to do a very simple if statement, and we're going to basically only write a /n if there's going to be another record. Now, we already know when there's going to be another record because the user has said they want to create one, but we need to move things around a little bit in order for that to work. So what I'm going to do is take this code and adjust it very slightly. So what I'm actually going to do is to manipulate this line here. So what I want to do is to only add the /n if this isn't the last record. How do I know it's not the last record? Well, if the user has said they want to create another one. So what I need to do is to move this line. So I'm going to move that line up. And now I've got an answer from the user that I can now use. So if again is equal to y, it's the same logic as before, it's just in an if statement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the /n on, but if it isn't, so in other words they've said no or anything else like that, what we're going to do is we're going to take this line, pop it in there, but we're going to remove that last /n. So let's see what that does for us. And now we're going to stop, And now we should have exactly 3 records. I'm just going to refresh my view. And there we have exactly 3 records. There's no extra line here because it's added, it's known each time, yes, I've got to add another one, yes, I've got to add another one, no, I'm not adding another one. So it has the effect of suppressing that /n. Again, have a little play with this code, see how it works for you.